Brand new details for Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, information on the ongoing development of Flight Sim 2020, as well as the brand new Sim Update 13, which has just released. This is the biggest month of updates and news for Flight Simulator for a very long time. Let's start with the details on Flight Sim 2024. Now, there's no release date for this just yet, but Microsoft say they are committed to releasing next year, although they don't have an exact window for that. Now on screen you can see the latest wish list. This has been updated very recently. This is dated today actually, September the 28th. And one thing you'll probably notice almost immediately is a number of these features are planned for MSFS 2024. Now the somewhat disappointing thing here is that some of these features were initially expected to arrive in the current iteration of Flight Simulator, and they've now been moved out of that into the new version. One case in point is Seasons. You'll remember from previous wish lists that Seasons has been referenced for a very long time as planned content. The assumption was that this would come with the Flight Sim 2020, and Microsoft actually said that was the original intent. But along with the decision to create a new version of Flight Simulator, well, plans have changed. So that now means that Seasons are planned for the next iteration of Flight Sim and won't be making an appearance in 2020. The same is true for another highly anticipated feature, which is shared cockpits and multiplayer. This is also planned for Flight Sim 2024. Now, on the screen here you'll notice there is a little plus symbol next to that particular feature. And what that means, any feature here that has a plus symbol next to it will not be available when that sim releases. So Seasons will be coming when Flight Sim 2024 releases. Cockpits, shared cockpits and multiplayer will not be coming with that sim's release. Instead, that will be a feature that will be added further down the line. Hopefully, fingers crossed, not something for Flight Sim 2028 or whatever iteration comes next. Additionally, for the next version of the sim, we can see that aircraft-specific control panels, or profiles rather, are planned, as is access to the flight planner without having to leave the flight first. Additionally, for the 2024 edition, we can see that updated cities and airports in South Korea are also going to be a thing, although again not quite with release, maybe further down the line. Elsewhere we can see the often requested feature to be able to open the doors of your aircraft is also planned for Flight Sim 2024. It seems then that this is not going to be making an appearance into 2020. Now, another thing that was discussed that may be related to the 2024 edition is the atmospheric engine, atmospheric scattering of the sky. Now, right now there's an effect in 2020, there's a problem there where you get this line across the horizon where the sky joins the ground. Regardless of what you're looking at, you'll see this there. Sometimes you can even see it visibly through mountains. Asobo have said this is something they're trying to fix and that they can change some of the parameters for Flight Sim 2020 to try and reduce this line down and make it less apparent. However, to completely get rid of it requires a rework of the atmospheric engine, the atmospheric code. This isn't something that's happening with 2020, however they have said they are working on a rewritten code. So the assumption is this will be going into 2024 and not 2020. That said, this isn't something that they've yet confirmed one way or the other. What we do know, however, is that work on the current iteration of Flight Simulator is continuing, and that will include fixing some of the sky here, that particular problem with the line on the horizon. Now elsewhere, we've got Sim Update 13, which should be available to download as you're watching this video. This includes a bunch of fixes, but I'm going to just mention a couple right here. One of these is the ability to now toggle that white dot off. This is something that a lot of people have been pointing out is a bit of an issue. The white dot, the cursor, is that icon in the middle of the screen on the UI element that appears when you use either a joystick or a controller, basically when you move the camera around. This is now going to have a toggle in the options. You'll be able to either disable it completely or have it only appear during certain occasions. There's also been a selection of stability and memory improvements which should hopefully overall fix many of the crashes that people have been finding. In fact, they say Sim Update 13 brings 5 distinct fixes for crashes for Flight Simulator that people have been experiencing, specifically on long flights. Now this, Asobo say, is something they've had a lot of trouble tracking down over the years, and the way they finally got around this is by setting up a few new PCs and having them run some very long flights. In this case, some of the flights have been as long as 250 hours. By doing this, they've been able to identify some of these specific crashes and therefore fix them. They've also identified a few other fixes which won't be making it into Sim Update 13, but will instead come in the next update. Let me know in the comments section if you still keep experiencing crash issues with Flight Sim. I hear specifically a lot of people do have trouble on approaches after long flights. It's not something I've seen myself, although that said, generally speaking, I don't usually do long flights. Another thing that Sim Update 13 is going to fix is the problem with multiple entries in logbooks. Now, logbooks are limited in size. I do believe that the file for the logbook can only reach 16 megabytes. And although this is text, mostly text, it should allow for a lot of data to go into that, it still is a fairly restricted size. So for people who have a lot of entries into their logbook, they have been having problems. Asobo say they've now fixed this by compressing down the logbook file so that it can hold far more entries. Now, naturally, there's going to be a lot more other content going to Sim Update 13, and this is something you can find more information on over on the official forums. I don't believe, as I'm recording this, that the patch notes have been released just yet, but we should be able to see them very soon. Elsewhere, we come to a general Q&A. This is just general information that Microsoft and Asobo discussed during their recent presentation. One of these was questions on the Reno Air Race expansion that was released a couple of years back. Now, the question is, will there be any further updates for this? Well, Microsoft has said that they are aware there's some issues with this particular expansion, and Reno will essentially evolve over the coming time, but no real specifics on exactly what that means, unfortunately. Another question that Asobo answered was regarding the replay functionality that is found on PC. Now, currently on PC, these essentially are beta features, they're test features that haven't yet been fully implemented. The question was twofold. Firstly, is this feature going to see any further development? Well, it turns out that maybe there will be a bit of further development on this, although the answer to that seemed to be a little bit too vague. The other question was whether or not replay functionality for your flights is going to be made available on the Xbox version. Asobo said that unfortunately this feature is no longer planned due to the limitation of the console platform. Basically, one of the reasons is that it becomes very difficult to save these files. Some of these flight files get pretty big, and the question of where to store them certainly becomes an issue. So yeah, I do find that pretty disappointing to hear. Now, moving on, we come to World Update 15. This is going to feature Northern Europe as well as Greenland. We can expect to see a lot of work on new digital elevation maps here, so that should greatly improve a lot of the scenery. And this is especially interesting for Northern Europe as well as Greenland because much of those areas are mountainous, and I for one would certainly like to see improved terrain there. So some of this new terrain, some of this new digital elevation maps is going to be right down to 2-meter resolution. Pretty good overall. World Update 15 is also going to include 10 photogrammetry cities. These will be located in Denmark, Sweden and Norway. There was also going to be 90 brand new points of interest as well as 5 custom airports. So there we have it. Overall, a whole bunch of brand new information for Flight Simulator, both the 2020 edition and the 2024 edition. Regarding the new version, Microsoft say we probably won't hear too much brand new information about that. Certainly no new reveals in terms of video footage until the spring at the very earliest. It was also clear that they're going to continue development on the current iteration of the sim, and this will continue into next year. In fact, Jörg Newman, head of Flight Sim, said that he's currently working on the roadmap for next year, so we should be able to see some brand new content on all of that in the coming months, get a bit of an idea of where things are heading. At any rate, let me know what you think about all of this in the comments section below. What do you think about the fact that some of the anticipated features for Flight Sim 2020 have been moved into the next iteration? Features such as shared cockpits and seasons. Let me know below. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.